for people that have accumulated some assets in a retirement account, this is kind of a big deal. So if you inherit a retirement account, or if you're looking to pass a retirement account on to your kids or your grandkids, a non-spouse beneficiary, is that before they could stretch out that tax payments, because everything in a retirement account, remember, is taxable. So once you receive that income, it's going to be taxed at ordinary income rates, but it would be at the child's rate. Before, they could stretch that tax out over their life expectancy. Now the rules change. So let's say a 30-year-old inherited a retirement account, they could stretch the tax out over like 50 years. Now it's 10 years. So they want all of that money in a retirement account to get pushed out within 10 years or 5 years, really depending on how that beneficiary designation is set up, Al. So this is kind of a big deal.
Well, it is, Joe. And you know, when you think about it, so now we got this new 10-year rule. And how does that work? And what's one of the things that's a little bit different is you don't have to take a required minimum distribution each year. You have some choices, but Joe, by 10 years, it needs to be all out of the account one way or another.
So a lot of people will probably just try to even out their tax bill. Maybe they take out $50,000 per year over a 10-year time period, or maybe they're working when they inherit that so they can have a little bit of flexibility. So maybe for the first 5 years, they're working, then they're retired, then they start distributing it out. There's all sorts of different combinations that you can do, but just realize that there's a 10-year rule. And if I'm a betting man, right, this 10-year rule is probably going to go to 5 years.
It could. You're absolutely right. So I think that's a good point, Joe, really, which is it gives you more flexibility. And I think a key thing is if you're still working or you have a high income year, don't take your required minimum distribution that year. Just push it to another year. But there's certain people that are actually exempt from this rule. And I'll start with spouses. So this is for non-spousal beneficiaries. So it's like your kids and grandkids. If you're disabled or chronically ill, if you're within 10 years of the person that passed away, and then finally, it's for minor children, but only until they've reached the age of majority. So Joe, I can't give my IRA to you because you can't stretch it because you're more than 10 years younger than me.
Was that trying to be a joke there?
I guess. Very poor.
That was very well executed. Very well executed.
It's because I forgot what I was saying halfway through.
Let's go back in history, Al. All right, so 1980. So the 401ks and IRAs came about basically under the law of ERISA in 74 when it was signed. That's when IRAs, 401ks came a couple years later. So if we go to 1980, let's say if you have a family, the average median income, their tax rate was roughly 45%. Okay, if you look today, it's 12%. So when these plans came around, when people saved money into them, they had a very good tax deduction, and it encouraged the IRS or the government encouraged people to save into these plans, right? Because today it's 12% for a family of four, let's say a husband and wife with a couple of kids, right? Before, in 1980, when we're saving all this money into them, you could save 45% on the dollar. Now you're saving 12%. The top marginal rate back then was also very high.
It was 70%.
70%, 70, right? So that's what the highest payers, today it's 37, right? So what's my point? The point is this, is that now we've accumulated a lot of dollars in retirement accounts, IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, TSPs, right? Because a lot of individuals, because the most of the money that is in these tax-deferred accounts or these retirement accounts are the baby boomers. All of you watching this morning, and now you've accumulated this money, you got a good tax break, but they'll say you'll be in a lot lower tax break or tax bracket in the future. All right, well, where are tax rates going? They were going down, they were trending down. We have trillions of dollars of relief that is going into the overall economy in regards to the CARES Act, and there's probably another bill that will be signed here shortly with another $1 trillion to $3 trillion going in. Where do you think tax rates are going to go? So if I have a lot of money sitting in these tax-deferred accounts that are going to be subject to ordinary income tax, maybe I'm not going to deplete the entire account before I die, then the kids will benefit, right? They'll get some assets, but they're going to get creamed in taxes because all of this will have to be distributed out in a lot shorter time period that will pop them up into a higher bracket. So what are some ideas and strategies that you might want to take a look at? Well, if tax rates are at all-time lows, just understand where you fall. What is your taxable income, right? And then maybe you max out your bracket each year. And how do you increase your overall income? Is by taking money out of a tax-deferred account. So if I take money out of a tax-deferred account, it creates income. But if I can pay taxes at a lot lower rate, it might behoove me to do this. But where do I put it? So I want to take some distributions out here. I know I have to pay the tax later, or my kids are going to have to pay the tax. What should I do with the money? Well, it might make sense to put it up here into a tax-free account such as a Roth IRA. I know if you've watched the show once, it kind of seems like the same show every week, because we talk about this because it is such a key component to, I think, an overall tax strategy. You are taking the unknown out of existence by putting it up here and to have forever tax-free growth. So I think with the elimination of the stretch, the fact that a lot of retirees have most of their liquid assets here, Al, in this, right, it's that big. We need to get this thing that big, right? Let's move that up.
Yeah,
right?
we want that one.
We want this one big, but it's all right here. There's $24 trillion sitting in these accounts, and there's a few dollars sitting here.
Yeah, we like, Joe, we like to call that tax diversification, which just simply means you got money in all three pools, and then you can control your taxes better in retirement. Joe, it's a much better way to save money in taxes throughout the rest of your life.
So there's going to be a turning point here where you want to look at where your money's held, how diversified are you, and do you have the appropriate strategy for your specific situation. We have a tax guide. That's our special gift for you today. Go to yourmoneyyourwealth.com, click on that tax guide. It will give you specific ideas and strategies about your specific situation to hopefully put yourself in a lot better position.